On the left, you can see one inmate attack another with the chair leg, breaking his arm. In seconds, the fight spreads. We're told this was planned. Two South London gangs fighting over respect.
Every day I wake up and I think I got God with me.
This inmate, a failed asylum seeker, talked about taking his life. He'd sewn his lips together and was on hunger strike.
I think about this every day for kill myself. I go Friday start, I try hunger strike. I don't drink water, don't eat nothing. Because here is many stress. No 23-hour close in cell.
Good, man. It's your boy E.I. the King, and this is the Incarceration Podcast, where I talk about prison, pre, post, and present, how everything that I experienced throughout my incarceration has forever changed my life. This is the Incarceration.
All right, good afternoon. This is State of Florida versus Stephen Testo with multiple cases before the court.
Forever Convict family, listen, we are on a journey to 50,000 subs. We are over halfway there. So if you have not yet subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Share this channel with anybody who enjoys prison content. And if you don't know my story, I've done over 12 years in prison. And all throughout my incarceration on this channel, I share the crazy, funny, goofy, weird prison stories, as well as interviewing other convicts and sharing their stories as well. But most importantly, we highlight the redemptive stories of convicts coming home, leaving their past lifestyle of crime, and now living successfully in society.
Man, it's your boy E.I. the King, and today we are doing another reaction video inside a prison in the UK. I believe it's called WANDSWORTH. And from what I've already seen, a brief clip, it looked pretty savage. So let's go ahead and check it out.
This is Wandsworth. The BBC has been given unprecedented access inside a British jail. Over 7 days, we saw the fear and violence.
Yeah, it's one person under restraint there. The wing looks secure.
You got to be able to defend yourself, innit? If you can't defend yourself, then you'll become a victim, innit?
The drugs feeding addiction inside.
You can get spice, you can get heroin, you can get crack, you can get anything you like. Anything from right now.
Is it easy to get cannabis?
It is.
Oh, what about pumping? Get down!
The prison officers pushed to the very edge.
I think I'm probably the most stressed I've been in 24 years in this job.
And the governor demanding change.
Without reform, I don't know how long we could sustain the prison system.
Our prisons are changing. The government is reforming 6 jails in England and Wales by handing back control.
All right, I want to say something real quick. At the very beginning, I'm going to rewind back. And you see these are tiers right here. And in some prisons, you see right here, right? In some prisons throughout the nation, in Florida, they don't got this. They got multiple tiers, like, 3 or 4 tiers going up. I think it's more so like out west, you know what I mean? But a lot of times there's like multiple tiers, but it's on one side. But sometimes you see tiers like this going up both sides, 3 or 4 or 5 stories high. And I've never seen railings like this, these safety nets, because it's a common thing. People will get beat up. Normally they have like bars going all the way up so people can get thrown over. But some of them don't even have that, and people will be fighting, or they'll throw people over the edge, or people will commit suicide and jump off the top tier. In Florida, the highest it goes is 2 tiers. There's no safety net. People get thrown off from time to time if they're fighting, or people will jump off and land on their head to commit suicide, whatever. But here, I believe it's multiple. Maybe it's only 2 tiers. Maybe it's 3 tiers. They got these safety nets. So I think it's 3 tiers. Yeah. I've never seen that before. But one thing I wanted to point out, you see this right here? These are springs holding the safety net. And I can't believe they got these springs because, in prison, dog, like, you find any metal object and you turn it into a knife. So I don't know if these are made out of, like, these coils are made out of metal. But if so, we don't see no missing right here. But I can only imagine that those are metal coils. And I can also imagine that, them boys are getting these coils off, untwisting them and making them into knives, But either way, I've never seen no safety net like that. And I just wanted to point that out real quick. I'm sure the average eye wouldn't even recognize that or know what to look for.
and get crack and get...
And the governor are changing. The government is reforming 6 jails in England and Wales by handing back control over budgets and contracts to their governors. Wandsworth is one of them. We spent 6 months persuading the Ministry of Justice to allow us inside. This is what we found.
Can you run? Can you run?
B-Wing. And Jennifer, a new recruit. And Steve, a Wandsworth veteran, face the first alarm of the day.
Run!
An inmate is refusing to go back to his cell. Neddy Lee. 20 years ago, he murdered a man in a fight.
Get down!
This is his 38th jail. He told us he was trapped in a cycle of violence.
In the 2 decades I've been in, I've had warfare in jail. I got sliced down the side of the face and I don't know who cut me. It's been non-stop, constant.
Violence.
Violence non-stop. Been stabbed through the chest. I've had my arm broke. I've got 3 broken bones in my hand. I've had murders in here, left, right and centre. And I've gone to him and said, look, at the end of the day, you're putting me in a predicament where I have no alternative but to utilise violence for my safety or to assert position on the wing. And that's totally counterproductive to my progression. I need to go home. I was just a little baby. Psychologically, it's torture. Emotionally, it's very, very difficult. And with the greatest respect, they're so short-staffed in here, this place can't run. It's unsafe. Even a lot of the staff that are in here are in fear.
Going down 2, so we're going bang up.
And facing this pressure, Jennifer. This is her first job inside a prison.
4 weeks in.
Yeah, 4 weeks in.
You're shaking.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it's...
Hey, that's one thing too, man. If you know, you know, whenever like media pops up or like visitors, for the most part, I mean, people police themselves in prison because they don't want to make the wing, the dorm hot, the pound hot, and people get searched or, you know what I mean, get their phones or dope knocked off or whatever. But sometimes, bro, people don't care. And whenever guests or visitors come, or especially like media, they'll turn up. You know, like sometimes in the county jail, they have like the Scared Straight program and they bring the jits in, you know, and they just wild out. You know what I mean? So I can just imagine, you know, whenever media comes in, you know, it can kind of give incentive to the, you know, incarcerated population just to turn up and to cause mayhem just because the cameras are there and just to kind of have fun. And it's like a source of entertainment. So that's definitely a thing.
It's like the rush, you know, if something don't happen. Like I've done so much. That was the first time I've used my CNR, which is use of force. It all goes off here.
Job for you.
Yeah, definitely. Like it happens on a regular basis. We just have to get used to it.
At times inside Wandsworth, it felt relentless. An overcrowded, understaffed Victorian jail. This alarm is because there's been a fight in the yard.
So that looks like a chair leg that was thrown down there.
At least one officer has been hurt.
Are you all right?
We're all leaving.
To understand what happened, we asked to watch the CCTV footage.
There you go.
Okay.
On the left, you can see one inmate attack another with the chair leg, breaking his arm. In seconds, the fight spreads. We're told this was planned. 2 South London gangs fighting over respect.
Every day I wake up and I think I got God with me, so I don't...
Days later, we tracked down the...
That was gang stuff. That was like 1 verse 30. I don't know where his people were at, but they jumped on him ASAP.
The man who started the fight.
It makes me much better.
A rare opportunity to ask why.
It happens every day. It's like
Violence.
Violence just happens every day. Just if it's maybe from this postcode and that postcode and that. And
Do the gangs follow you in here?
Yeah, the gang follow you. When you're a gang member, everywhere you go, you're known. You're just known to a gang member and that.
And when you walked out on that yard?
Yeah, when I walked out in the exercise yard, I thought, yeah, I had to fight because if I don't fight in that, I won't be a man. So after all of the end of all of that fighting and that, when I was going back in, I think yes, God, at least I made it.
But this is the cost. An inmate hurt and angry.
Yeah, he's waving the stick around, wasn't he? Waving the stick around, waved it at my arm, broke my arm. You got to do what you got to do. There's nothing you can do about it. You get your arm broke and you're left in your cell. 3 days it took them to take me to the hospital. 3 days.
You're vulnerable in here with a broken arm.
I have a lot of friends who are wrapped around me, so there's no problem for me, but another person could be very vulnerable.
The threat of violence was everywhere. This prisoner had boiling water and sugar thrown over his face. Another had been beaten up. Just another fight, he said, all part of prison life.
You got to be able to defend yourself, innit? If you can't defend yourself, then you'll become a victim, innit?
Bro, boiling water and sugar, never heard of that one. But I can just imagine, I'm sure like the sugar's gotta like get inside your freaking skin and just sting, you know what I mean? I'm just sure it's probably like this burns, like, I mean, burning, scalding water, hot water in itself in the face is crazy. But sugar, yeah, it probably lights you up even 10 times worse.
How many fights have you had in here?
In this jail, I had about 5, 6. 5, 6, to be honest with you. Yeah.
The most violent inmates are sent here, the segregation unit.
We're facing this. These can all come at you when you come through that door. And they're heavy.
That's going to do some damage, isn't it?
Yeah. But the whole landing, all these cells, you see the fellow opposite you, all this cell has been flooded, the whole lot. There's another cell over there. I think we're a 13, 14 bed unit and we're only half working because the cells are just getting taken out.
And this is what it takes just to feed some prisoners. Officers wearing helmets, delivering a sandwich.
How dangerous is this job?
It's getting dangerous. It's getting worse.
Every day we saw the pressure.
Excuse me, sir.
This is because another inmate is refusing to go back to his cell.
Here it is, here. If you just come back through there. It's this way, stop.
Steve has worked here for 19 years.
Yeah, it's one person under restraint there, the wing looks secure. The amounts of incidents has gone up. We're not actually proactively trying to solve issues, we just seem to be reacting. With 4 to 5 staff on the units and wings like that, it gets quite tense at times.
And whenever you see moments like this, obviously we don't know the details of what's going on, but whenever people go to jail, kind of like intentionally, you know, people refusing to lock down, it's called checking in. So in prison, if you're in fear for your life, you can check in. That means you go to, you know, a police officer, a correctional officer, let them know like, yo, I'm in fear for my life. I want to check in. That means you go in PC, you go to confinement, but not under disciplinary reasons, but you go in there for protective custody. But a lot of administration rules, if you go check in, if you go PC, you got to snitch. You got to tell like, why are you in fear for your life? Who's trying to hurt you or whatever? And if you don't, they won't even take you to jail. Let alone ship you off the compound. Some people, of course, obviously, you know, they're rats and don't care. They'll just tell on any and anybody, or some people will just lie and snitch on whoever, or people, maybe they feel like it won't come back to them and won't have to face repercussions.
I also have a fire HBO style series chronologically going over my prison experience from day one, all throughout my 12 years in prison. But you got to become a member to this channel. If you're on desktop, that's the only way you can do it. If you're on a mobile phone, you got to do it through Safari, or you got to go to your internet app and become a member. Check out a brief clip right here. It's not directly addressing me. It's not directly addressing anybody. He's just saying it loudly about all the new people. And we weren't the only new people who came in that day. There's people who came in before us. But I'm thinking still he's going to be the one that tries me. So he goes and he sits down, and I'm sitting on the bench, and all of a sudden someone approaches me. I'm sitting on the outside of the bench and someone stands right over.
But most people, especially like people in gangs or people who just want to keep a clean reputation, they'll pull a check-in move like this. It's not necessarily going PC. They're just intentionally going to jail because there's something going on the compound. you know, and they're just trying to get off the pound. They're trying to get away from their celly. They're trying to get away from somebody they may owe money to, or they may be in some conflict, or they may be in fear for their life. So they just pull a stunt like this and refuse to lock down and just, you know, check. It's called a check-in move. You know, they're not literally checking in under protective custody, but they're doing something to get in trouble intentionally just so they can be put in confinement because they're scared. And in prison, that's frowned upon. Like, oh, he checking in. Like, bro, don't check in, dog. You know, but I guess that's like the safe way out. It's more honorable than snitching, because that will forever ruin your reputation in prison, obviously.
There needs to be fundamental change, because we release prisoners, they keep coming back.
This was found in his kit bag.
And fueling the violence, the drugs. This is spice, synthetic cannabis. It's got so bad, Wandsworth now has an X-ray machine to search inmates.
That is drugs concealed.
There's also sniffer dogs, but still the drugs are smuggled inside. Prison officer Danielle showed us the evidence room. It's packed with drugs, weapons and phones.
We have a very, very small mobile phone.
It's tiny.
Absolutely tiny. Those are obviously homemade nunchucks. That could do a bit of damage there. We would strongly suspect that that is spice.
What is spice doing to prisons?
Hurting them, really. Not all prisoners are violent. Everybody's in there for different reasons, but I think using spice can...
Let me interrupt this real quick. This is about the cell phones. That's the most common phone in the chain gang. They call them finger phones, you know, or dominoes. You know, they're really small, you know, little throwaway phones. And the reason, obviously, why they're the most common is not only they're the cheapest, but it's the easiest to get in, and it's the easiest to suitcase, if you know what I mean. So that's the most common phone in the chain gang. You can really only call out, receive calls and texts. Of course, you know, there's smartphones, iPhones, Androids, whatever you can think of. Those are plentiful as well. But the finger phones, the dominoes are definitely the most common.
Potentially make people extremely violent, and it's getting more and more common now. Wherever you work, there's always spice stories.
In just 12 months, prison staff say £300,000 worth of drugs have been seized inside Wandsworth.
I sleep here, my cellmate sleeps here, this is my TV.
Ashley has just started his sentence.
The canteen who comes round every
He says drugs are everywhere.
set. Hear my tunes at night time when I'm relaxing and that. Same old. Yeah, this is it, this is my home, this is where I live.
What drugs can you get in here?
You can get spice, you can get heroin, you can get crack, you can get anything you like.
Right
Anything
now?
from... Right now, all I've got to do is go down to the 2s, to the 3s, to the 1s. It's there. Everything's there. Anything you like.
Is it easy to get cannabis?
It is.
Has prison made your addiction worse?
Yeah, because I've been in for so long now. I've been in for nearly 8 years, so I get a lot stressed out. This is the drugs that's the problem. And being inside so long.
How do you
being
pay?
Around so much people that smoke the stuff.
But that smell of cannabis is really... The smell of cannabis. And most days we could smell cannabis. This was B-Wing.
Yeah, it's overwhelming, especially up here.
And then we see it. A group smoking below us, in full view.
It's mad, like the sparks are here and that as well, and just no one cares, like it's like there's no order, like.
But how do you feel about people smoking cannabis down there?
Not good.
And the officers?
Imagine they can't get it next week now, then what? It's going to be fights and that. And the officers are just here, like. Obviously, it's not myth, it's sport.
How can you get cannabis from around here?
Everyone.
Is it easy to get?
Do you want cannabis? I can get you some still.
You get me cannabis
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah. What was Mr. saying?
How does that make you feel hearing that?
Well, obviously, it's not good, is it? It defeats everything that we're trying to do as a service.
And many inmates told us the same story. Drugs smuggled into Wandsworth, available for the right price.
I know officers that charge you, say £500 a parcel, the size of, say, 3 tennis balls, full of drugs, phones, whatever you want.
This prisoner asked us not to show his face. He wanted to talk about corruption.
A smartphone, you 700 quid they go for, retail price.
And who brings those phones in?
Officers other prisoners.
Are you just saying that though?
Oh, of course I'm not
to get
gonna say
officers in
that.
trouble?
No, of course I'm not.
If it is a member of staff who is quite willing to bring in a mobile phone or some drugs that could potentially put me on and everybody else in danger, I don't want to work with them.
How big is the problem?
It's hard to tell. I think there's probably at least one corrupt person in every jail.
Inside Wandsworth, inmates and staff talked freely about corruption. The governor admitted there was a problem and that he had to deal with it.
Corruption is the one thing that I absolutely cannot stand. And I think that's a very clear message from me, that one of the first things we would do with reform is to think very carefully about how do we deal with those issues of corruption and what do we do to tackle those staff bringing that drug in, because that will deal with some of the issues that you've highlighted and that you've seen over the last week.
But the corruption, drugs and violence are just part of the story. In Wandsworth, we found a jail facing another crisis.
And how are you in your mind? How are you?
They're no good. Cut. This cut.
Okay. Twice in Wandsworth, this man came to see us. He'd cut every inch of his body. Desperate, he speaks very little English.
Are you getting mental health help?
Yeah. I this crazy. No sleeping every day. Sleeping. I cut. Me.
And so many here are in crisis. This man jumped over the railings onto the netting.
What I tell you, bro, they're hanging out because the camera's there, man. They're turning up. But on a side note, bro, that's sad, man. You seen that Asian guy, just losing his mind, cutting himself. And man, listen, throughout my 12 years in prison, bro, I met a lot of crazy people, in the free world and society. But I definitely met the most unstable, like mentally ill people ever in my life in prison. I'm not saying the majority is like that, but, they have certain, even prisons in Florida that are psych institutions, to where the majority of the population is on psych meds. And a lot of people use that as a finesse and try to get away from certain prisons and want to go to those prisons because of whatever reason, or trying to get high or feed their addiction or whatever. But man, I done met some crazy people in prison for sure.
Other inmates wanted us to meet him. They said he shouldn't be in a jail.
Severe mental health. Needs help.
Who's this?
The neglected Mowgli.
Mowgli!
Schizophrenic. Severely schizophrenic. Nuts.
What's the matter with you?
I want to jail!
Where do you want to be right now?
I want to be Springfield! I want to be Springfield in Washington!
Where do you want to be and what do you want?
I need that health issues. Why did they tell me when I've handed in the paper already? Why do they keep telling me? Why do they keep telling me I'm on basic mental health?
In Wandsworth, officers are constantly assessing prisoners.
I wonder if that was like a setup right there. You know what I mean? They're just trying to clown with the cameras. Like, yo, bro, I'm gonna act crazy real quick, bro. I'll close my cell. Go get the camera guy. Because he didn't really sound that crazy. I went up there just clowning.
Are you sure?
Here, an inmate has smashed up his cell. He's in distress. Nathan has self-harmed. He says his mental health is getting worse.
This is my artwork. Okay. This is Romeo. You can see. Goes down there. If you can see down there, there's a bottle of tequila. Yes. There's also a very large gun there. Can you see that? Yeah. Nice belt. Romeo meets, and then love hearts. Okay. And then if we go down here, you'll see Juliet. And if you look at the print of Juliet here, that's art. I've got personality disorder. I'm also signed off from the doctor for severe anxiety, and I only just received my medication yesterday.
Being in prison with your needs, what does it do to you?
Made me suffer, basically. I sort of no other option other than to say, let me make a phone call, holding the razor blade to my arm like that, and then eventually The officer opened up the door.
Are you asking for help from people?
Yes, I am asking for help, but the service seems to be so slow. Not find a prisoner.
For officers like Steve, the demand can be overwhelming.
They say 85% of people that come into prison have mental health issues, be it personality disorders, or be it more like schizophrenics, bipolars, etc.
What's the pressure like?
If you can't look after vulnerable people, all right, in a safe environment, all right, people will get hurt and people will die.
Do you think lives could be saved if there were more members of staff?
Definitely. Definitely. The amount of self-harm and self-inflicted deaths are on the increase.
This inmate, a failed asylum seeker, talked about taking his life. He'd sewn his lips together and was on hunger strike.
I think about this every day for kill myself. I go Friday start, I try hunger strike. I don't drink water, don't eat nothing. Because here is many stress. No 23-hour close in cell.
It affects you, you know.
And dealing with suicide, officers like Andy.
Bro, a hunger strike is one thing, but sewing your freaking mouth shut, dog, that's freaking insane, dog.
He says he can't forget the faces of prisoners who've taken their lives.
It leaves a big impression because I can see probably 8 of the guys that I've dealt with, you know, and I've dealt with more, but there's 8 specific guys, I can still see their faces. And some of those guys, you know, one of those guys was back in 1994, you know, that I happened to cut down. Another guy, you know, it was around about 96, and I can still see him, I can still see the grimace on his face.
But how to cope with all the violence, self-harm and addiction when nearly half the inmates here are foreign and many can't speak English?
Are you from Romania? Romania.
So many Romanians,
I'm from Romania.
like Richard and Antonio Silviu. They say they've served their time, but are waiting to be deported.
3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, he finished my punishment. You know, let me go home.
Do you want to go back to Romania?
Yes, I want to go back. I don't want to come back here never. I'm from Romania, but it doesn't matter where you're from. Human rights are human rights.
Okay. This is my cell. I don't even have hot water, as you can see here. No kettle. So
But not everyone wants to go home.
There is very worse in this prison.
Take Poldrak, unhappy with his cell, but proud of his crimes.
What were you in for? Pickpocketing.
How much were you stealing a day?
2,000 or 3,000 per day.
£3,000 per day out of people's pockets?
Yeah. And I'm feeling proud of it.
You're proud of it?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it again.
What, here in the UK?
I might come here in UK as well. I don't know how, but I'm gonna try and come here again.
To pickpocket?
Yeah, because here you make a lot of money.
Why should British taxpayers be paying money to keep you here?
But I don't know, there is no reason. Because in any way they're gonna send me to Romania. So why they want to hold me more?
Now we have to see how long have you.
Some foreign prisoners take English lessons, but the majority...
Romania, they might cut out that boy hand, dog. I mean, apologize if that's not how they get down in Romania, but hey, I'm gonna go ahead and close this one off, dog. Man, it was sad when he was talking about, you know, people, taking their lives in prison, and obviously whenever you do time, a lot of times you see it. And I have a good friend of mine, man, that I did years with, and he took his own life, bro. He hung himself, and he had a life sentence, and he was down for about 20-some years, and he really wrestled with depression heavy. He was a good guy. God transformed his life in the chain gang. He had tried to take his life years ago, before I knew him. He had a huge gash on his throat with a knife. He tried to, slit his own throat. But then years later, as we were doing time, he took his life, finally, and, hung himself. And this is sad, bro. You know what I mean? You wake up one day and, even if you're not super close with somebody, or even if you didn't even really know him, but you see him, you know what I mean? It's like, dang, what happened to such and such? Like, bro, like, hung himself, man. It's sad, and that's the reality of prison, dog. Like, you see so much violence, you see so much chaos, you see so much, just terrible things, man. It kind of like desensitizes you, throughout the years. And thank God, I've been out a little over 3 years now, and it takes some years to kind of adjust back to society. But, in time, you kind of, I guess, get less and less callous, and, you know, get sensitive again to real life things, because in prison, when you see violence every day and people getting robbed and extorted or people dying, or, you know, there's a whole bunch of violence, whole bunch of crazy stuff, you know, it becomes your everyday norm, you know. So just hearing that, man, it kind of made me sad, made me think of my dog, man. So once again, man, this is to end this episode on a positive note, bro. If you ain't been to prison, bro, don't go. It's not like the movie. It's not like TV. Ain't nothing cool about it, bro. Stay out the way. Stay out the streets. Understand and know that God got a purpose for your life, for all of our lives. And it's only truly found through faith in Christ Jesus, man. It's your boy, E.I. the King. This is the Incarceration Podcast. Y'all stay tuned. A whole bunch of content continuing to come your way.
If you didn't know, I am a rapper. My artist name is E.I. the King. Check out my music on all streaming platforms. Go to my other YouTube channel, E.I. the King. Check out my music videos. And I'm also releasing a documentary all year. It's really a docu-series. And every Wednesday, I drop a new video. As we've been documenting my transition home from prison and society, from the day of my release, we had a film crew at the gate just documenting my transition home from prison, now in society. Check it out on one of these links above.